Jimmy Kimmel Live canceled after years of him being utterly unfunny, and the left is losing their mind about it. And we're going to talk about it. I'm Ted with Forward the Line. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Please like, follow, share, all of that great, lovely amount of things. And let's get into this. From CNBC, FCC Chair Carr says we're not done yet after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension by ABC. Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr told CNBC that ABC late-night show host Jimmy Kimmel appeared to, quote, mislead the American public about facts regarding Charlie Kirk's killing in the days leading up to his show's suspension. ABC on Wednesday said it was pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely, and Carr also said later in the article that they're not done yet with the media ecosystem changes to said ecosystem. So let me show you exactly what was said.
Very clear. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct and take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Okay, so that's clearly a threat. However, what Kimmel said is he said that the MAGA base was trying to portray the shooter of Charlie Kirk as a leftist, and he suggested that they're doing that even though the shooter was anything other than one of their own, which is pretty damn clear in what you're saying, that it was a MAGA ideologically motivated shooter versus a provenly leftist shooter. As a matter of fact, a lot of pundits out there, a lot of left-leaning individuals out there, said that all the information that came out that Crowder broke before the official press release about the writings on the bullets, about the transgender boyfriend of the shooter, were all fabricated. People like Destiny said that on the Piers Morgan show. Many other people said that repetitively, that the right was lying. And as it turns out, everything that they had suggested happened to be true. And now Jimmy Kimmel is paying the price for that. However, what I don't like to see is I do not like to see the federal government, the FCC, trying to threaten to lay the hammer on a mainstream media news company because they're doing something that they don't like. Now, some of you out there might disagree and say that it's warranted because they did it to the right during the Biden administration, which is justifiable because remember, during the Biden administration, not only did they use emails and the White House power to go after social media companies, including Facebook, Twitter at the time, and Instagram, saying that if you do not remove these people who are speaking out on things like COVID and claiming it's misinformation, speaking out on cultural issues, and speaking out to the government themselves, they specifically told these companies to censor them. And they were, or they were deranked, or they were demonetized, which is effectively censorship. So I didn't like it when they did it. I don't like the threat of it now. And I think Carr is wrong here, not only for that reason, but because also I don't think the FCC can even really do anything. I don't think they could revoke the license on these types of grounds. Yeah, I mean, he misled the public, but what else is new? Jimmy Kimmel's been doing that for years. All the late night hosts have been doing that for years. Colbert got canceled. Next up is probably Seth Meyers getting canceled because these people have lost the trust of the American public, and at the same time, the viewership has obviously collapsed. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, let me make sure I get these facts straight here. Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers both lost approximately 9% of viewers since Q1 2025, which is wild. And it's been on a steady decrease for the last, basically since Trump got elected, and really even a little bit before that. It's been declining for years up until the mass drops recently. Now, Stephen Colbert, embarrassingly, only has 219,000 adult watchers in the 18 to 49 coveted demographic range, which is embarrassing because I might not get that yet, but there are videos of not like super famous people getting that in a very short period of time, which is hilarious. But In Colbert's case, in case I get questioned for saying, oh, it's not a decrease, yes, he is up 1% since quarter one 2025. And that's the response. The response is 1% increase over him canceling his show, which is just funny because no one cares. No one cares. No one watches you. Normies don't watch you. Political people don't watch you. Maybe some people out there watch your shows because they're right leaning and they do it because people do that. And then other than that, you're getting radical leftists and old people, and even Fox News, old people. I mean, all the news shows, the primary demographics for these shows for mainstream media is 65 and up. So the likely culprit of Jimmy Kimmel being removed from air, beyond his statements, was not so much the government's involvement over a particular conversation that he had on the Benny Johnson show, Carr did on the Benny Johnson show. It's more likely due to the collapsing ratings, like I said, and they're losing money. They're losing millions and millions of dollars. ABC, NBC, CBS, they are all hemorrhaging viewership. They are all losing a lot of money. And it's funny because Disney is the prime example of how much money can you lose on nonsense liberal propaganda. They are the champion. But yet they never stopped until now. They are realizing that the culture isn't in fact what they had assumed. It's incredible how both sides yell at each other about being in a echo chamber. But the biggest echo chamber of all time, in my opinion, has been the mainstream media and the government. Here's how I look at it. During the Biden administration is when this was really happening peak. I mean, really, for the last 10 years, woke stuff has been creeping in, but it really seemed to reach its peak during the Biden administration post-Trump. Now, you had an anger coming out of the first Trump administration, so it kind of pushed people in the direction of the Democrats to begin with. But it's weird because the media was still pushing those, but how did it speed up? Well, Trump was a money maker for these media companies because all they did was bash him all day. And then their most responsive demographic was, in fact, woke liberal leftists. Now, normies don't usually get all upset and bent out of shape about stuff and get upset on X or Facebook. Normally, it's ones who are slightly radicalized. So when you have them screaming at the government, them screaming at the media companies that they want this, and this, LGBTQ, environmentalism, whatever, they then go, okay, this must be what they want. And especially on Twitter, where it was proven, after it was taken over by Elon, that they were suppressing conservatives and gaining the reach of progressive liberals. It was proven. So then the media sees that, and they go, oh, it must be popular. Then the government sees that, and they're like, oh, everybody else around me is saying, oh, Hollywood, mainstream media, social media, everybody's saying that this is the best thing since sliced bread. And in reality, none of it's true. Some people went along with it. Democrat voters went along with it because in the name of compassion and equality and all that stuff, you went along with things like LGBTQ and DEI because it seemed like the right thing to do. However, they've all been utterly and totally abused. So what happens then? Do they just continue with that and lose tremendous amounts of money? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to start doing this. So the left can get upset all they want about this being a free speech violation, but that's most likely not the cause. Now, the cultural shift that we're seeing towards the right goes beyond just frustration with the government. I do believe there is a legitimate young male-led initiative to go back to traditional values. You can see it in the amount of expansion of Christianity. You can see a massive increase in Catholicism specifically. And you can kind of see this desire to get away from the, basic white woman type of vibe, leftism type of vibe, because they're sick of it. They've been put down for way too long. Young men, whether you realize it or not, since my early years, and I'm in my 30s, early 30s, I'll say, they've been suppressed. Masculinity has been suppressed for years. And it's affecting the way men interact with women, the way men interact with their jobs, the way men interact with their society and their community. Everybody's isolating. And we cannot have that. We cannot have that. A culture, a society, a civilization cannot survive with hyper individualism. So we need to get away from that. And I think young men are finally starting to see that. And at least some of the media companies are picking up on that, and you're starting to see these shifts away from the woke nonsense. So that's a good thing. Again, to wrap that part of it up, the government needs to stay the hell out of private corporations as much as possible until it is absolutely necessary. And this particular situation of Jimmy Kimmel saying nonsense on the air and being full of shit is not enough to warrant pulling their license. Now, one last thing I wanted to mention, because I hate Pam Bondi. I think she's terrible. You need to fire her. She decides to bring up the hate speech narrative. And I'll make this quick. They're doing that in Britain. They've done that in Europe. You can see the results of what that looks like. We don't want to go to that. So to have a legit Trump administration official, Pam Bondi, who's in charge of the DOJ, her saying that we're going to crack down on hate speech when no conservative for the past decade plus has ever been supportive of hate speech laws, makes you look stupid. Then somebody decided to tell Trump that it's something that actually needs to be looked into, like people actually care about that who voted for Trump. No one cares. No one wants that. Most of us think it's stupid. So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching. Please, as always, like, follow, and share. Check us out on X, too. We're trying to post more there. And as always, be happy, be healthy, get educated, stay motivated, forward the line.